Hey, I'm Matt Firor. I'm the studio director at ZeniMax Online Studios.
Hello guys, we're here at the Amsterdam 10 years event for Elder Scrolls Online. So, just this first question, 10 years of Elder Scrolls Online, how does that make you feel as studio heads?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, right? It's like, it's been a long time. And, ESO launched 7 years after the studio was founded, so it's like 17 years for me. But having the game out for 10 years is amazing, because really these types of games, the community is the important part of the game, as important as the developers. And so having a game that a community appreciates for 10 years is very hard to do, and ESO's done it. And so we're very excited this weekend to have fans come in to Amsterdam for this 10th anniversary event. Gave a presentation 2 weeks ago at Game Developer Conference, and one of the situations I talked about was before we launched, Skyrim launched while Elder Scrolls Online was in development, and it had a big effect on ESO because it was so successful. I mean, it's one of the best games of all time, that it made us change ESO because we knew it needed to be more like Skyrim. Because when we started developing ESO, Oblivion was the Elder Scrolls game, and of course Skyrim is different from Oblivion, and so we made a lot of changes before we launched based on just because Skyrim came out and was so successful, and ESO is better for it. Like it gave us a much more clear target and a refined vision of the game.
Yeah, can we just jump into Oblivion? I wanted to ask, there are going to be some new music in Gold Road. Can you already talk about, are there going to be some tracks from Oblivion, remastered or original?
No, we have an all-new soundtrack, and we will. The title theme is already in the game. If you play the game now, the new Gold Road title theme plays. But yes, we have new music for the zone, but it's all new, and we've done it. We did try to make it sound as classically Elder Scrolls as we could, to make sure that it felt a little nostalgic, but it's all new.
What can fans of Oblivion expect about Golden Road? Gold Road? Any Easter eggs? Any hints on?
We always do Easter eggs. So if you played Oblivion, you will find situations and areas that you'll remember from Elder Scrolls 4. We've done parts of Cyrodiil before in ESO. So we did Blackwood, had Leyawiin, and that was 2 or 3 years ago. And then, of course, our PvP system takes place in a lot of Cyrodiil around Imperial City. So we have a lot of experience with, the biomes and telling stories, and yes, maybe putting some Easter eggs about Oblivion in it.
Going back your history with your previous project before Elder Scrolls Online, what were your first lessons going into MMOs, going from traditional or not MMO games to online?
That's a great question. That was a long time ago, but so I made, I don't even know, 15, 17 games since 1990, but all of them were multiplayer. So even my earliest games were multiplayer when the internet was very new. But yeah, Dark Age of Camelot was my first big game that everyone remembers me for, especially in Europe. It was very popular. But I think when I started the Elder Scrolls Online project, having worked on MMOs before, of course, gave me a really good idea of what we needed to set the team up, the technology we needed. Some design decisions were easier because we had done it before, but really, the leap between 1999, when we started to work on Dark Age of Camelot, and 2007, those years were huge in terms of technology. So the tech was different and newer. The rendering, the graphics were all different and newer. So I learned lessons about the project, but we really had ESO kind of took off from newer technology than Dark Age did.
What are your thoughts on the future of MMOs? Because lots of single-player games taking more and more features from MMOs, going more and more multiplayer.
Yeah, I get asked this a lot, and we should do a whole GDC presentation on this. But MMO really today, it refers to a technology now, not a game. When EverQuest came out, there was only one type of massively multiplayer game, but now there's many, and that's great. It's like a lot of the newer multiplayer games, the battle royales and everything started in MMOs, and so they're not new, but they take a fun little piece of an old school MMO, really refine it and make it a great experience, and so that's using the technology to come up with a cool, interesting game idea. That I think is the future, right? Is finding new, interesting ways to use the technology to bring players together.
You also talked about player feedback and the community. What are your biggest takeaways from what players wish for the future? And
yeah, we make no secret that when ESO launched, it had some problems, and we really did listen to the community. If you go back and look at what people were complaining about, it wasn't Elder Scrolls enough, it wasn't not enough freedom, and a lot of the systems, in fact, most of the systems we put in since launch were all aimed at making ESO more of a virtual world and less of a game. And so, but if you look at the Elder Scrolls games that you love that aren't ESO, right, they're virtual worlds also. They're single-player virtual worlds, but we wanted to make sure we captured that sense of freedom in ESO as well. So we definitely took community feedback. We also took, so when we were making those changes and decisions, we had 3 different data points that we used for that. One was community feedback. One was like metrics. What are the players actually doing in game and what are they doing more of? And then the third was what we think we should do as developers. And so if you take those 3 different data points, right, the answer will come out of them. So players sometimes complain about something in a way that we have to look at the metrics to figure out why they're complaining about it, and then it's obvious usually. We're like, oh, we need to do more of this, and so it's really helpful to have more than one data point.
In terms of servers, did you encounter during the 10 years any improvements that you say you can handle more peaks and stuff like that better?
I didn't go into it in my little speech today, but part of the GDC presentation was about our mega server technology and how it saved us a couple of times during development, because it's really a miniature cloud system. So we never had to do server merges. We never had to do any kind of, you know how traditional MMOs are, where there's shards. We don't have shards in ESO. We instance each zone, not each shard. And so you can have 58 Glenumbras running or 2, right? But to the players inside the zones, it feels perfect. It feels like there's the perfect number of players. So that helped us smooth out, the peaks and the valleys when we had not so many players logging in. And then when we had more players logging in, we could add server capacity and just have more instances.
Also, technical question. Most of the studios talking about switching from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. What is the difference in an MMO when you switch engines, going from another engine to the next one?
In ESO we started in the very early days. We used the Hero engine for prototyping, but we spent all of the next 7 years pretty much taking all of the Hero engine code out and replacing it with our own. So we didn't really switch engines. We always knew that we wanted our own renderer, our own server, our own, scripting system, and so all of that was purpose-built for ESO. So we haven't really changed the technology at all. We keep building on it, but it's still what it was then.
As final question, what would you say stands out the most in Gold Road?
Oh, there are many things. The thing that I like the most is visually, we made it look very distinct from other zones. Like it's fall colors, like autumn, the season. So everything is kind of gold colored, and it's really beautiful. That's the part of the game that I love, is the exploration part and going to a new part of Tamriel. And in any game that I play, that's what I love to do. So that's what sticks out at me the most. Like, even if you look at the key art, and I'm pointing over at the key art, it's gorgeous, right? And it really gives you a sense of, I want to go and play that and explore it.
Okay, thanks for your time. It was great.
Thank you.